I can't vote for Biden. Like, I'd vote for Trump before I'd vote for Biden. And the reason being is that, like, you knew this. You knew he was deteriorating. Forget about his policies when he was lucid. Forget about, like, he was lucid during the Obama administration. You barely heard from him.
Yeah, he was much, much better. If you listen to, like, a speech he gave in 2012 or 2013, he has lost several steps.
See, regardless of what you think about his policies, like, as a human that's in a position of extreme stress and power, that is nuts. That's nuts. That's nuts.
It's really unbelievable.
That's insane. He's so far gone.
That was podcast giant Joe Rogan commenting on President Joe Biden's mental and physical stamina during an interview with guest Dave Smith. So, yeah, that was interesting because famously, Joe Rogan is not a fan of Trump at all. You know, he's declined. He said that he's specifically declined to have Trump on his show because he did not want to be construed as having done anything to help Trump get elected. He supported Bernie Sanders in at least one of the previous 2 cycles. So, you know, it's telling there that he says that he would sooner vote for Trump than he would vote for Biden. Of course, you don't have to vote for either, is what as someone who proudly did not vote for Trump or Biden either time and looks forward to not voting for Trump or Biden in the future again. And actually, Dave Smith, who was the guest there, is a libertarian. He's somewhat involved with the Libertarian Party. He's a podcaster, comedian. I know him a little bit. We've been on panels together on Fox and some other places. We have some back and forth on social media. Sometimes we have, I think, different ideas about what is the right approach for spreading our views, but probably most of the views themselves are probably mostly the same between us. So, and I didn't watch that whole thing, but I'm sure Dave eventually jumped in with a, you don't have to. He should have at least. I trust that he did. With a, there are alternatives to those 2 choices. There is a libertarian. There's going to be a Libertarian Party candidate. There's going to be a Green Party candidate, and some others. And the 2-party duopoly continues to serve us choices that I think are bad, and so many people think are bad, and Joe Rogan evidently thinks are bad. Are they bad, Batya? Is it that bad?
First of all, I'm glad you brought up that he refused to have Trump on. What a baller move. I mean, I can't get past that. And also, he didn't immediately brag about it. It came up in a totally different context, years later. I just think that's what FU money looks like. It's I can just say, I'm not going to give this person a platform because I don't need to. I think that's so cool that he did that. I do disagree with him. Not that I think Joe Biden is a great choice. I don't know that I'll be able to vote for him, but it's not because of this mental acuity thing. I mean, yeah, he has deteriorated. If you even watch videos of him during the campaign 2 years ago, he was in much better shape verbally, but I just don't think that there's been a mental deterioration to, unless that's the reason that things are not getting done. But I think a lot of the choices that are being made are exactly the same choices he would have made 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I just, the thing of sliding into appeasing the far left, that just seems to me the kind of decisions that a lot of Democrats of all ages make. I will say that over Rosh Hashanah dinner, I had a lot of people over, and somebody raised the question of if you had to choose between voting for Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, who would you vote for? And boy, was that a polarizing and interesting question, because it was whatever you think about him. And I think that actually Joe Rogan does go on to talk about Kamala Harris there and how it's so interesting because she's become such a cipher. They'll put her up there and that kind of word salad will come out and you'll be like, where are you at on any issues? It's so hard to tell. So that was a really interesting thought experiment for viewers to try at home.
Yeah, she doesn't really represent. I don't know what her ideas are. She, for a while she was a prosecutor. She would brag. She was glad to present herself in that way, and then now, of course, that's totally out of step with what sort of with how the media, the elite media, wants Democrats to position themselves. So she's run totally in the other direction. She's supposed to be in charge of immigration of the border, but that is not a problem that looks like it's being resolved. In fact, it looks like it's gotten much worse. So I think there are a lot of ways in which she will, by default, be Biden's successor because in our very modern political system, being the vice president is a big deal. It confers a lot of legitimacy and frankly name recognition on you. I think it's why Joe Biden actually really kind of easily got the nomination, despite, so much media, so much pundits say, well, he did terribly in the debates. All these other candidates are so exciting. But no, like actual Americans knew who he was and, weren't paying so close to the minutia of politics day in and day out. Like, oh yeah, Joe Biden, I know who that is. And so he ends up having a lot of an easier time of it for that reason. So you could see the same thing happening to Kamala Harris, although I don't think she has, I mean, she's not well liked, I think, in the same way that Joe Biden was, broadly kind of in a, I don't know, congenial sense approved of. It was someone that I think Americans felt like they knew, and also comes across. And look, you have to give him, credit for what he does successfully politically, or at least used to. I think he came across as sincerely, someone who'd experienced loss and spoke at a time when we were all experiencing tremendous loss. Spoke in a way that was reassuring, and that he understood it and was, offering some kind of return to normalcy, both in terms of the pandemic and in terms of, how angry and bitter our politics became, partly because of Trump and under Trump, but not entirely because of Trump and under Trump. And then now that has not really happened at all. The Democrats had to be fought on pandemic stuff to make them give it up. And then, our politics are just as acrimonious as they were before. Not that we want to definitely don't want to excuse Donald Trump. I mean, like he said over the weekend, I think on Truth Social, he made a kind of racist attack on Elaine Chao, Mitch McConnell's wife, saying that she was responsible for all of Mitch McConnell's bad decision making. Like, not only should you not do that, like she was in his cabinet. He put her in the cabinet. So like Trump is always saying all these people are terrible, all of them are bad. Like, but you put them in their positions. At what point does that reflect on your judgment then? If you're saying everyone is bad, but like it's never, and this is a problem with a certain subset of conservative voices, that Trump can just be forgiven for anything. It's never his fault. Always somebody else's. Oh, they're not really doing what he wanted. He can't get his way. Everyone's conspired against him. Very whiny in my view.
Yeah, I mean, I think separating out the person Trump from the policies is exactly what I'm saying about Biden. Like, it's very hard for me to imagine, like, which of the policies that he has enacted do you think he wouldn't have enacted 5 years ago when he was, more, verbally, articulate, right? Which of these policies do you think, you could never imagine President Obama enacting these? Like, none of them, right? He's reigning exactly the way, if you had predicted, 2 years ago he would. So I think, and similarly with Trump, I mean, for so many of his supporters, and we've talked about this a lot here, it wasn't about Trump the man. They totally didn't care what he was tweeting. They totally didn't care what came out of his mouth. It was about the policies, many of which were working very well for the people who most needed it. So I think it's very interesting times to be an American. Well,
I challenge them to prove it. They can pick someone who has the same policies as Donald Trump, but isn't literally Donald Trump. I think that would go a long way to bearing that theory out. But all right, well, that's it for us today. Tomorrow on Rising, we will actually have a debate panel on climate change and natural disasters, which Brianna and I have been disagreeing with, so we'll have some actual experts to weigh in on it. Of course, it's been lovely having you today, Batya. We'll miss you until you're back.
Thank you so much. See you in a few weeks.
And we'll be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Catch us on the Plex TV app and elsewhere. And I will see you all back tomorrow. Batya will be back with us again. I think you're just off next week, but you're not going anywhere. Right, you'll be back, and I'll have more Rising for you tomorrow.
And I'll be watching.